From the Middle is proudly a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hey, boys and girls, welcome to episode number 168 of From the Middle, a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview style podcast hosted by three middle-class guys living in the middle of America in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. In this episode, we spend a good portion of the first half of our episode talking about our answer to a very thoughtful question we got in from a loyal listener on parenting advice and when just too many events and activities are too much for your family. And then we talk a little bit about Dillon's trip to Hotlanta, find out all about how his flight went. And on the back half, we have a fun little taste test snack review session. And we got all kind of goodies laid out before us. We got salty snacks, we got sweet snacks, and we have a very limited edition type of pop or soda
or hot nuts
or fountain drink.
Sody pop.
Dillon's excited about hot nuts, and you'll find out why when you continue listening. Play the intro music, Kendall.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
So I don't know if you knew this or not, but I've been listening to Pete and Sebastian, which is going to come as a shock to many regular listeners.
I think we knew that. Yeah.
And
without you even saying anything.
Sebastian said that Alone is his new favorite show on television.
All right.
Yeah. He's been watching season 8 on Netflix. I just thought I'd throw that out there as another plug to start watching.
To Sebastian, hey, we interviewed this guy. Why don't y'all come on over here?
We talk about you all the time already. You two should just grace our podcast with your presence. We could talk about Alone.
Mm-hmm. In fact, that's probably where he heard about Alone, was listening to our show.
Right.
And heard the Nate Weber episode and went, man, I got to check out this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened.
Yep.
So regular listeners will know that we have a segment that we call Answers from the Middle. That's where you can reach out to us and let us know if you have a question about life or an etiquette thing or just silly things, serious things. It's all wonderful and we'll take all of it. We don't give, don't take this as serious advice if you have a real issue. It's more for entertainment. But we got a text. It's a really long one and I wanted to read it to you guys. It's your first time hearing this. So 2-part question for the podcast. My wife and I are generally on the same page for many things, especially when it comes to parenting. However, it appears we are at an impasse on one particular issue. This issue is how involved our kids should be in extracurricular activities at a young age. We both agree that once they get into high school, loading them up with activities can be a helpful way to keep them out of trouble. But for now, our oldest is 10 years old, starting 5th grade. Our youngest is 2. I'm fine with signing up for a variety of experiences and camps at this age, but I feel quite strongly against more than 2 evenings a week being taken up by weekly activities. I'm against it because it eats into family time and into unstructured playtime, both of which I think are valuable to their development. I also don't like the hectic feeling of running from place to place and the stress it causes to all of us. My wife agrees with the importance of these priorities too, but she puts a higher value on exposing them to lots of different experiences when they're young. She would say we still have ample family and playtime, and that the stress I referred to is more of a problem for me and not for her and the kids. This has actually led to some pretty heated discussions. We're usually good at navigating our way to a reasonable compromise when we disagree, but this might be our first major impasse. This issue keeps resurfacing because changing seasons creates new opportunities for the kids to try and gives me more areas to to try to prevent overextension. So, 2 questions for you. What is a healthy balance for kids participating in structured adult supervised activities versus unstructured kid playtime? Relatedly, how should this balance shift as they grow older? And 2, how do you guys handle areas of fundamental disagreement or incompatible priorities with your wives when the issue is so important to both of you that neither one wants to just let the other one have this one?
Holy cow. This is the most complicated question we have ever received.
So let me
I don't know how I'm going to work a fart joke into this one.
One quick addition before we take it too seriously. I should add that I'm not seeking marital counseling from the podcast, so there's no need to treat it in a serious manner. Our discussions and disagreements over it are still healthy, and we can joke about it with each other. It's just proven to be a thornier issue than we typically encounter, and I thought it'd be good fodder for discussion.
Without giving any advice right away, I was going to say congratulations that you and your spouse are on the same page so often that you've just got this rarity of a thing that you're dealing with.
That is going to time out eventually, right?
That you can sort of laugh about even because it's rare. So congratulations, by the way. Sounds like things are going great.
That's a great point.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is my wife and I feel like both of us are relatively laid back when it comes to this kind of thing. And I don't think that we're as extreme maybe as this gentleman's wife is with the let's do all of the things every night. But I can say a couple of things. One is personally, I relate to the feeling of anxiety that pops up when a schedule gets too busy. I enjoy building in free time into a schedule. I very much value that. And for me personally, like I'm comfortable with being out and about with the kids a couple nights a week. And for me, any more than that, I too would start to feel that anxiety. My wife, I think, is more comfortable with doing more, but she lives in a situation where, like, she wants our kids to be exposed to lots of things. She basically wants to do all of the things with our kids. Now, for us, that doesn't look like structured commitments to sports teams or gyms or whatever it is. It looks more along the lines of whenever there is a community event, the kids are going to it. It doesn't matter what it is. Like she wants to find a way that the kids do all of that stuff. And especially when you start getting into certain times of the year, that stuff pops up quite often. Mm-hmm. And like, I get tired, you know? And, but like, she feels like that when she grew up, she didn't get to go to enough of that stuff when she was a kid. And she always felt bad about it. And she wants our kids to not grow up like that. I mean, she has awesome parents, great parents, and she had a good, healthy, wonderful upbringing. But this was one area, like we all have those things. We look back on our childhood and say, hey, I want to do that a little differently. This is one thing she wants to do differently. She wants to do all of the things with the kids, which is fine. It's hard because without being there in that situation, I feel like he covered all of those points. He was so well thought out in his text message, and he gave his wife credit where credit was due, that it was like, well, just make sure, because he doesn't say that she doesn't like unstructured play. She does. So the question is, what does your life look like at home? And I can't answer that question other than to say I'm probably a little bit more like he is.
Yeah, it's like her bar for the stress and the running around is just higher than his is personally. Yeah. And then that's reflected in what he thinks is probably healthy for the kiddos.
Yeah.
Because
certain families
are
going to have their own, and this is where you need to be respectful, because my family has its own threshold of what's appropriate and good as far as like me going out in the evening to do what a podcast or whatever else it is. Like my wife goes to work all day, and then at some point in the time, multiple times a week, like I end up taking off to do something. And for our family, that's fine. That's good. That works. There are families where that would upset one spouse so much, or just for whatever reason that wouldn't work in other families.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of get that and respect that and know that different families operate in different ways. They have different values. The spouses have different upbringings, such as my wife has a different upbringing from mine, and therefore she wants to take the kids to all the things. And for me, that's not as important. But the dynamics are all over the map. So for me, sometimes, because I am so willing to like go out and meet somebody to do something, I'm willing to like, go play basketball and start a league. I'm willing to lead a worship team and practice once a week. I'm willing to do the podcast and those kinds of things. To other people, like even committing to one of those would be too much for their family.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's really easy to judge from afar without knowing the dynamics of that family. Ours, for example, our kids thrive in structure and consistency. So if there was a different activity every night and we were constantly going to a different community event, coming back at different times, maybe or maybe not eating around the dinner table, that'd mess them up. So like for us early on, we realized they need to be at home getting ready for bed like an hour before bedtime so that they can have that like cool down time, do their reading in bed quietly, whatever. So you bring up a great point about like it's easy for us to give our thoughts and opinions. That's why you wrote in. But you know your family best. And as long as like you're not, because one of the things we observed with a lot of families early on, before we had kids, and then when we had very young kids, people were like, here's my least favorite phrase that you hear all the time. Oh, I'm just a taxi service. I'm constantly running kids from event to event. It's like I'm just constantly in the car. We don't have dinner around the table. And you hear that over and over and over. And Sherry and I said, that's not going to be us. And that's easy to say before you have 3 kids and all 3 of those kids want to each do a separate activity. But we still try to put a premium on meals around the table multiple times a week. And the way that we do that is to say each kid is allowed to do one activity per season. That's sport, extracurricular, hobby, library thing that you go and do, whatever, one thing. You get to do one thing per season. And that's the general way that we solve for that. To this person who wrote in, like, as long as you don't think you or your wife are like hiding behind, because sometimes people hide behind kids' activities and running the kid, and there's other stuff going on that they're masking or that not dealing with, to just, as long as you don't feel like there's any of that going on and your wife just has a higher threshold intolerance for that sort of thing, I mean, keep having the discussion, be the voice of balance and say, hey, it's getting a little crazy. I want to make sure, it sounds like you guys are doing a really good job discussing those things.
Amen.
But yeah, for us, Sherry and I, and then to the second question, how do you handle areas of fundamental disagreement or incompatible priorities with your wives when the issue is so important to both of you that neither one wants to just let the other one have this one? I think Sherry and I rarely have heated discussions about the what. It's for us more often about the how we're parenting. It's not about whether or not this kid does this activity. It's usually about style and preference. Less about like the actual thing. We can typically work, because we set those big rules up early, like priority on family mealtime, one activity per season. Because we sort of did those big things early, it usually just comes down to how. And we each have a different style. And the cool thing, and then I'll let Dillon answer, the cool thing with having an older one, now 15, is that we can actually include her on the disagreement. and say, your mom, not that we're pitting one another against each other or trying to get her to pick sides, but it is actually nice for her to see, like, your mom and I actually disagree on how to handle this situation. So we're working through it. This is my opinion. She's a little more of this opinion. I can see her side. She's kind of seeing my side. So like with an older one, we actually are using it as like a relationship advice type thing. And that's actually cool for her to see. And it's not always dad's the fun one or dad's the agreeable one or dad's the one willing to let you go. And mom's always it's actually often the flip of that. But it's cool for her to be a part of those discussions when appropriate sometimes. So I feel you.
I feel like for a slightly different take on answering the first part of the question, I'm curious to whoever asked, and the curiosity sort of ends with my question back. If you feel like this is a regular level of stress and anxiety for you that you experience relatively frequently, then maybe your wife is, you can find some kind of balance with you and your wife's position. If this is an irregular amount of stress or anxiety that you're not used to experiencing, and this is coming up around this thing, then maybe talk through that. Or maybe you're just like dealing with, like, my kids are growing up and they're doing different things. And like, maybe there's other stuff going on. So like, depending on how you're reacting, and whether it's regular or not, like, maybe you want to talk through some of this stuff with somebody else, including your spouse or not including your spouse, to just work through some of what's going on. Because maybe there's more at play than just disagreeing about how many sports or activities are reasonable. And I also think my wife and I certainly have different energy levels and like tolerance levels for things like activities and chores and tasks and whatever. And so that's just a thing. Like, she's more resilient to doing a lot of chores and tasks and activities where like I would get worn out quicker. And so there might just be communicating that too. Like, I'm just getting burnt out faster than you are. So like, I want to let them do as much as possible, but like, I'm just physically not keeping up with it. And so, I'm tired. There's too many things. And so maybe your spouse is unaware that physically it's taking the toll that it might be worth mentioning. I don't really have an answer on the transition thing, but I do think it's really fascinating, and I'll ultimately continuing to come back to the topic and revisiting it. Like, nothing's really changed from 6 months ago, but it's worth checking in. Like, how are we all feeling about the number of activities, or how much is going on? I can also imagine, again, there's going to be like a lot emotionally that comes into play later as you're dealing with the fact that you're like, and it'll happen with me too, that it's not like a 6-year-old who has an activity. Now I'm dealing with the emotions of my daughter driving a car to activities, getting close to college and activities, getting close to moving away in activity. Like, there's probably going to be other things going on.
Thanks a lot, Dillon.
That I'll be thinking about too. So no answer on the back half, but just a slightly different angle on a lot of the good stuff you guys mentioned.
Take activities out of it. I mean, we just started school last week. In emails and notifications alone, my inbox is flooded. 3 different schools, 3 different kids. And just from one school, I get half a dozen emails a day on, here's the lunch, which I'm glad, right? In an area of technology and automated emails and mass emails that can go out with the touch of a button, I'd rather err on the side of over communication. But just from school alone, no sports and no extracurriculars, I'm getting so many emails. I don't know what's what. I don't know what Sherry has seen or what I'm not copied on or she is. It's just so much from, hey, their lunch pot of money that you pay into is getting low, and hey, don't forget, it's bring your favorite thing and then on Tuesday we're having it, and sometimes it's like 24 hours notice, mandatory parent meeting for Sets and Pet on be sure to be there an hour early and then we're having a family fun night and food trucks. It's like, good Lord.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely got 4 emails in the same day from my daughter's preschool teacher. And this is preschool. Like, that's a condensed singular email. And I got 4. So,
Mhm.
you know,
It's a lot to stay on top of.
Just a couple quick thoughts before we leave this topic. One is, it occurs to me that it might be a good practice to think forward a little bit and think to yourself, when our children are adults, they look back on their childhood, like, do we want them to be thinking of, look at all the great and wonderful experiences we had, and all the things we did? Or do you want them to look back and say, hey, what a good, close knit family we had. We knew and cared for each other so well. And both of those are good options. And I want to point that out. And I also want to say that perhaps there's a little bit of anxiety on the wife, worried that if we don't do these things, then X is going to happen, or the kids are going to turn out that way, or whatever it is. And I'll tell you that we can talk to our friends now as adults and look at peers who had an awesome high school experience and were doing all the stuff, had lots of friends, and they're, working across the table from someone whose high school experience was crap and didn't do anything, and they were the total loner and that kind of thing. And they both ended up in the same place with the spouse and kids and a car, and there's many different ways to do it. And I wouldn't stress out too much either one of them about it. I say that while reminding people we're idiots with a podcast. So
but it is a good point that both could be, and I say could be rooted in a place of worry, both points of view. And one last point, I want to get you guys' take on this, because I've been struggling with something that this question, and thank you again for writing in, touches on. Do you think there's like a cutoff of, okay, you've tried 14 different sports and activities now, pick one and let's run with it for a little bit so that you can get some experience and proficiency at that thing? I feel like that makes sense when they're really young, but like at some point I feel like pick the thing that you have the most passion or that comes the most naturally. Otherwise you lose out on getting to experience what it's like to start to get skilled at something and have what that teaches you and what that feels like, whether that's an individual sport or an activity. If you're just bouncing from thing to thing to thing, and maybe this is the wrong advice, because you hear about people who are 65 years old and pick up piano for the first time and have never been happier, right? But just for what schools offer, and just for the extracurriculars that schools offer, I feel like you should just pick something and go with it at a point. No?
An interesting point. I'm gonna get a little bit religious-y on you here, because something that we talk about at staff meetings and so forth is this idea that there's people who are curious about a thing. So I'll just mold it all into this secular world. People who are curious about a thing, and then there are people who sort of buy in or believe in a thing, right? And then so that's kind of step 2. Step 3 is you are now learning how to be a part of that thing. And then which causes you to be, in the Christian world, we would call that discipleship. You are a disciple of Jesus, right? But and for a lot of people, that's where the journey seems to end. But there's more to that, scripturally speaking, and I think there's wisdom here for us. There's another step there of fulfilling what God outlines for us, which is to become a disciple maker. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the next step that a lot of people forget even exists. And so in that way, like there's a very real experience that one could be missing out there if they don't take the time to develop the skill and become proficient at a thing and do it for a long enough time that they learn some ins and outs they wouldn't have before if time would not have taught it to them. that they can then get into the mentorship phase of it, which is extraordinarily important and a whole new skill set. I'm all for striving to teach kids how to get into that mentor phase of a thing. I don't know what the equation is and at what age.
There's the mentor thing, and then there's the thing right before that. Not everybody experiences it, but when you find your tribe and you feel like you're better than average at it, the high that can bring and the wonderful feeling of being the one that contributes to the outcome of the game and the victory or the team award, like feeling like you were legitimately a part of it, not just I was on the team, so I also got a trophy. Like I added points to our total, or I kicked the game-winning goal, or I, was a part of the thing that got us to champion. Like, and it isn't just about winning, but like once you find something that you're like, oh, okay. And I think it's actually our job as parents to not just let them blindly choose thing to thing to thing. I think it's our job to instruct and go, hey, Chloe, you're really good at this thing. And I've noticed over the last year, you've really gotten into these cooking shows. And I wonder if you take that skill that you already have for being organized and structured and your love of food. And what if we, without pushing your personal interest on them, I think it's actually part of our role to instruct and guide and just kind of be the bumpers in bowling, right? A little bit and go, what if you tried this maybe, Anyway, we kicked that horse to death. So hopefully that helped. Write back and let us know if we saved your marriage. Dylan, you were in Atlanta. How the heck did that go?
I was in Atlanta. I had a great time. I was joking, part of the premise of our podcast is we like to have sort of comedic takes on things. And the entire city of Atlanta was so well behaved. The entire time I was there, I felt like I walked away with no comedic material, but I had a lovely time. Very interesting city. I'd have been through Atlanta before, like as flying from A to B, but I had to stop in Atlanta. And had never spent time in Atlanta, and it was great. The whole hot Atlanta stereotype. It was actually cooler there while we were there than it was in Columbus. So we didn't have like cool sunny weather, but it was overcast, but it was like less humid than I was expecting. So the whole Hotlanta thing is sort of out the window. You could rename it Potlanta because boy, you can sure smell that everywhere. But other than that, very well behaved. We had a great time. We had some incredible food. And you walk into the airport. We spent a good amount of time in the airport. We got to the back for our flights out pretty early. You could spend 2 or 3 hours at the Atlanta airport and feel like you've seen one of every person around the world at that point. Like I've seen them all. I've seen one of everybody all within the last 2 or 3 hours. And I mean that in the best way. Like it's such a cool, so many people coming and going from all over the world. You're like, I've seen one of everyone now.
Yeah, we know better than that, Dylan.
We do know better, but it feels that way, which is a lot of fun. And again, I mean that in a complimentary way. It's just such like so many people coming and going. It was great. Yeah. There was one interesting person on the airplane, which by the way, even I thought maybe I'll have a funny complaining story for the airline. The flight there, everyone was super well behaved. I was squished in the middle, but even the people on both sides of me were like totally polite. I'm thinking the way back, I'm kind of separated from the people I'm traveling with for work. Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing I haven't flown in a long time. So I'm kind of doing I'll be on the aisle this time. That's kind of nice. And then the two people beside me on the way back, are two kids that are probably 6 and 4 that can't even take up half a seat. And so they're just quietly sitting with headphones watching their iPad the entire flight back.
Yeah. Where were you guys on the way here?
Yeah, exactly. So couldn't even complain about that. I had my noise canceling earbuds, so like all sound is gone. I don't have to worry about anybody. But there was one interesting guy sitting kind of close and across the aisle to me, and he had his phone up, very, very large Android phone. So I'm 2 feet away. I can see anything he's doing on his phone if I happen to look over. And I can tell he's reading.
You did.
Yes, and I did various points because why not? And I can tell he's reading confidential emails because you just know the kind of generic disclaimer at the bottom of emails. They all kind of look the same. And he's not like sort of holding his phone in front of him, with this. There's no slight. He actually has his arms up on the seat in front of him, holding the phone out, reading them all like this the whole time. Now, I don't think the person in front of him was bothered that I could tell, but I also thought that's kind of the opposite of how you read confidential emails, because you couldn't have put it any higher up. Like it's inches below where the baggage is going to come down. And that's how he just read them for a good 45 minutes, just scrolling through emails with his elbows up on the seat in front of him. And so kind of interesting. But everyone was very well behaved while I was there. They knew I was coming. All the trash, any trash on the street was brushed under a rug. Everyone is very polite. Very few gunshots outside of my hotel. It was lovely. I had a great time.
Oh man, the guy on the airplane, man. I wonder if he was like a congressional staffer trying to leak something.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's how they do it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, wasn't that interested. If the information's that easy to get, it can't be that interesting. So
the kids next to you on the return flight, was their parent on the flight, or did they just get sent?
Well,
like the flight attendants do that. Like, we're going to take you to your parent at the receiving gate.
Good question. Here's my best guess. As I was putting my luggage up and I'm kind of looking kind of down at my seat, I see a very large man in the seat behind what will be my seat staring at me, who was either very constipated or was trying to give me an intimidating face because I'm realizing these might be his children. He's staring me down to see if I'm normal, because I'm about to sit next to his kids on a plane.
And he can ask you to switch. Hey, those are my kids. Can we?
Sure. Well, presumably they book their own tickets. So like they picked and were letting them. So I'm guessing it was a dad trying to look intimidating or constipated. I'm not sure which one.
He was trying. Maybe it was a dad trying to look constipated.
He might have just been constipated, but then I read it as intimidating. But like he never said anything to me. And then I sat down and
good luck with my kids.
Well, noise canceling earbuds I wouldn't have heard it anyways. Yeah. So would have never bothered me. I just ignored them the entire time. And frankly, they were so quiet and well behaved that it didn't matter. So no, drag out fights, no recording any crazy Karens on the plane, nothing crazy happened in the airport.
And you said you had maybe the best steak you ever had in Atlanta. So
I did. Yeah.
So this came up on another podcast I was listening to, Scissor Bros, Jeremiah Watkins, and Steve Lee. What are you guys' thoughts, speaking of travel, of the airlines that try to get cute with the safety speech and they have little jokes, and like Spirit Airlines will like try to be your buddy because they're fold down seats and you have to pay for water and bringing any luggage whatsoever. Like, what do you think about them trying to be little stand-up comedians? And the joke that they told on the podcast was when they were landing on in LAX on Spirit Airlines, after the landing, as they were taxiing to the gate, the flight attendant said, "Sorry about the rough landing there, folks. It wasn't the pilot's fault. It wasn't any passenger's fault. It was the asphalt.
I appreciate that. Generally speaking, I enjoy it. I know that we've all seen the videos, and it might be old, and you know that they're canned and things like that. And I don't care. I still want to see it. I like it. I appreciate it. If I didn't like it, my worst opinion would be, if you're trying to do that for me, you don't have to. But if you're doing that for you, do it.
Yeah, that's such a stressful experience for a lot of people. If I would imagine that has far more positive reaching effects on anxious flyers and angry flyers than it has negative.
That's exactly what. So I Googled it just out of curiosity, like airline flight attendants trying to get cute. And that was the general sentiment from people who've worked in the industry for a long time. It's hell for the crew. A lot of times they're exhausted. They know that a lot of people are anxious and just want to get to where they're going without any delay. So even if it's corny, people just sort of generally tolerate and at best appreciate it because you're at least trying to make what is an annoying fact of life slightly better. So fine.
Sure.
Yeah, I can see that.
I guess I fly so infrequently that I just love flying still.
Yeah.
I still feel like a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know how the plane works, but it's awesome.
Speaking of good food and
feelings.
Sorry, Kendall. Speaking of good food and feeling like a kid, we have a bunch of snacks to try after the break. So let's hear a word from some of our friends in the Odd Pods Media Network. And this is your warning, your trigger warning. If you are annoyed by chewing sounds, chomping sounds, crunching sounds, or the sounds of packages being open, that's fixing to happen. So we'll see you in a minute.
Hi, I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
And we host the Muck Podcast, where we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics.
Hey, Tina, did you know that Elvis crashed the Nixon White House for the sole purpose of getting a DEA badge? And it worked?
What? Or how a gun control advocate senator out of California engaged in gun trafficking with notorious gang leader Shrimp Boy?
Shrimp Boy, I remember him. Okay, so, we cover all of that and more from maladies, madness, mischief, and murder in U.S. politics.
And we also host a bi-weekly interview segment called Lil Muck.
We interview politicians, journalists, activists, and others who share their experiences in politics.
Find the Muck Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and check us out on social media at the Muck Podcast.
All right, Dillon, tell us the snacks that you have provided. I provided some that I thought were rare delicacies from Mexico, and come to find out you can get them right here in the USA. So you start.
But the benefit is I've never had them, and I'm very aware of what they are. So I'm excited. First, we should have a drink ready in case any of this is terrible. And we've got, if you're not following us on YouTube, you really, really should be. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the dingy bell. We've got Coca-Cola Dream World limited edition. I know all of us are drink people. We all like specialty drinks.
And Dillon, how did we all get the same snacks? You were so kind.
Yeah, dude.
And agreed to drive to each of our houses and hand deliver the snacks, and then take the snacks that I had from Mexico to Kendall.
Yeah, I just thought I don't need a precious evening with my family. I'll just go drive for 2.5 hours and it'll be fun. And so
we just covered that.
Yeah. No, I brought them with me and they hung out in the car. We even stopped at a church so my daughter could pee in the back of the car in her little thing. And it was good. We kept going. It was fine. It was a good time. So Coke Zero Dream World limited edition. Man, it smells very fruity. It's like mango-y. It smells mango-y.
It does smell like mangoes.
Yeah. It's mango scented. It smells like straight up mango juice. All right, let's try it. They might have just repackaged Coke Mango or tried to make a Pepsi, like the Pepsi Mango. And maybe that's what they just made. But it's fruity. My wife said it had a hint of fruit stripe gum on the back end. So generic fruity flavor. And it might.
You've like implanted mango in my mind, so I can't
know.
taste anything other than that now.
So this is actually my second time trying this.
No.
This time around, like my opinion has shifted, and it's not favorable.
Oh no!
How did it start?
Yeah. So it started, like I told you guys before, that like, and we've talked about it. When I have something like a bag of Skittles in front of me, I'm the kind of guy who'll pick out and eat just like a few yellows, and then I'll pick out and eat a few oranges. And I'm always saving the reds for last because they're the best ones. I'm not a maniac who just grabs a handful of Skittles willy-nilly and shoves all the colors in their mouth. But if you did do that, that's how I felt this tasted. Coke Dream World tasted just like a generic fruity flavor, as if you took all the Skittles and put them in your mouth, which also jives with the fruit stripe gum concept.
I was going to say the purple bag of Skittles.
Oh, the purple. Okay.
Yeah, those flavors as opposed to the traditional red flavors is what this pop tastes like. Keep going.
So now I'm wondering, did Coke see Pepsi Mango, decided to make their own Pepsi Mango, saw that Pepsi sales weren't that good on Pepsi Mango, and said, why don't we put this in the limited edition can and it'll sell a lot better than Coke Mango?
Like they had a bunch of Coke Mango left over because it didn't sell.
Yeah. And
so
they're like, if you put it in a limited edition can and call it Dream World, people will buy it up.
Yeah, because when you said mango, much like Ori, I started smelling mango. And then now when I'm drinking it, I'm tasting mango. Yeah. I didn't get that on my own before. And I don't like mango.
Well, I have an incredible palate. So you're welcome. And it's Coke Mango. If you wanted to know, go get yourself some of that. All right, let's move on to the next thing.
Wait, did Kendall share how his
I'm sorry.
It changed?
No, that's it. It went from general fruit to mango to I didn't really like it to I like it a little less now.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Dill.
I'm very excited for the Office fans. Chips de la House. We're going to have some hers chips, but this is a very special flavor of hers. Old Bay seasoning potato chips. And they've even got the Old Bay yellow, blue, red can right on the front. They didn't even put just a crab or Maryland, like football and crab cakes. That's what Maryland does. Like they didn't even put just like Maryland. They just went straight up with the tin. And we're going to have some Chips de la House Old Bay seasoned potato chips.
I've never even heard of Old Bay.
Are you what?
Old Bay seasoning? It's for seafood.
Yeah,
You guys, your family, man. You guys just hang out and eat dinner with each other every night.
The company's been around for a long time.
Yeah, they've been around forever. Old Bay, I love Old Bay seasoning. It's very popular in the shrimp cocktailing world.
Yeah, the story, the guy came over as an immigrant, was selling spices to like butchers and stuff, and then came up with a seasoning for the people doing seafood, and it became Old Bay seasoning, and they've been selling it forever.
I have Old Bay sunflower seeds in my pantry right now.
What's funny, I saw an interview with, man, these are good. I saw an interview with somebody interviewing the former, like the guy that was originally there. He's just super old now. And they're asking him about, what do you think about this Old Bay seasoning flavor on all this stuff? And he just sort of has this really nice, like different era of business kind of answer where he just goes, I don't know about all that. It's just a good seafood seasoning, but if people want to put it on all kinds of stuff, okay, but it's just seasoning. Like the whole company, however many years and decades of this business is probably multi-billion-dollar seasoning companies. Like we're just a seasoning company. That's it. We just make seasonings. You know,
Can you imagine how the employees of that place smell going home every day?
Oh man.
You know, everyone should
Delicious,
buy
that's how.
this. And I feel like I can confidently say most people won't like these, although they grow on me the more I eat them.
It's very good. I'm 4 chips in, and that is very, very tasty.
You know what it reminds me of?
I could see that on a steak.
Yeah.
Not flavor, not the flavor. Don't hear me say flavor. Do you know how salt and vinegar chips are like unapologetically flavor in your mouth? Like, don't care if it makes your tongue burn.
Mhm.
That's kind of how this is. It's like, this
They're
is
very strong.
unapologetically the flavor, and
Yeah.
you're going to freaking like it or you're not going to like it.
Hey,
Makes me wanna-
our palates are pretty evolved because, Kendall, I'm reading now some articles about Coca-Cola Dream World, and Skittles has been used multiple times to describe the smell and the taste. So we've got pretty evolved palates,
Nice.
even for us in the bland Midwest.
You know
No,
how
no.
much I love to dip things? Go ahead, Dylan.
No, not unevolved. We've talked about this probably in the first 20 episodes. That's why Columbus, Ohio is such a popular test market, because we don't have
Biased palates.
a biased palate towards like Cajun food or towards Southwest US or the West Coast or whatever. We have a very neutral palate.
Yeah, we're not necessarily all about one thing, but we don't really hate anything. So there's, I legit, we've talked about how I love to dip things, make dips for things. I legitimately think like I can't eat these and not think what they would taste like dipped in cocktail sauce.
We're gonna
Cocktail sauce, but also I'm thinking like a nice white, like a sour creamy ranch kind of dip would also be good.
yeah, these are very good.
Very nice. All right, what else is on the docket? Old Bay, hers Old Bay chips. All right.
All right. So I'm going to paint a picture for this next one. And this might be entirely made up. I'm going to be clear. This could all be made up. But sometime, probably 20, 30 plus years ago, a little Dillon, a little young silly Dilly, remembered seeing a commercial for Oreo Cakesters thinking, boy, I'd love to try that. Now, the part that could be made up is these could have just come out 2 years ago, and I could be completely making up the fact that these are old. But I feel like I was a kid and I was like, that's something I want to try. And for the entirety of my life, an asterisk, maybe this could be made up. The entirety of my life, I've never seen these anywhere until now. And they are Oreo Cakesters. They are soft baked little cake-like Oreo looking cookies with, I'm guessing, what will be a layer of icing, like a softer icing in between. I am so excited. Because like, if you like Oreos, why wouldn't you love these? Like, this should be right up your alley if you're an Oreo person.
They were born in 2007, but maybe there was another version or a similar brand.
I was open that could have all been made up, but 15 years can feel like an eternity when you're hungry. So
True.
it's possible I saw it in my 20s and
forgot how to walk.
you know, exactly. So here we are.
Yeah, I don't know how it can go wrong.
Yeah, this can't be. I just have wanted to try it for so long now. Oh, it's the texture is a little more oatmeal cream pie ish.
Yeah.
I was expecting a little softer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Easy. Easy with.
that's
Yeah.
really nice.
It's really nice. It's not as soft and fluffy as like a snack cake. It's definitely more oatmeal cream pie.
I use a snack cake.
That's good.
This is delicious.
Our sounds aren't going to be as sharp now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got trickery going on in the back of her. You know what? Surprisingly, I like these more than I thought I was going to. I'm not a huge, like, super sweet guy, and these are not, like, crazy decadently sweet. I actually taste like a lot of the cacao and less of the sugar in the cake itself, which is surprising.
I'm just going to say it. I like it more than a normal Oreo. I would eat more of those than a normal Oreo.
Wow. Before we forget, we need to send a clip of this entire section to our boy, Andy Woodhull.
Oh yeah. We had Andy, stand-up comic, very funny on the podcast. Go listen to that episode. Then go find his YouTube channel, subscribe to that. And he's got like a whole snack review section, which is great. Right up our alley.
We just do it randomly to completely throw off regular listeners as though they had any expectation whatsoever of what they were going to get.
Wash it down with a little Coke Mango.
We keep you guessing, folks. And if you're curious, the episode that we had Andy was episode number 154. And he's coming to Columbus, I believe, in October. So we're going to go check him out. All right. So we're going to go completely to any more thoughts on the Cakesters?
Oh, those are great.
Delightful.
All right. So I thought I was doing something cool and bringing you something from Mexico.
You did. I've never had them.
You totally did.
You did. I never had them.
This is the most popular salty snack of the company Barcel, owned by Grupo Bimbo. And they have these things called Takis, which are essentially tightly rolled little tortilla chips, dusted with a super hot fire sauce and a hint of limon, which is not lemon, is lime. So give these a whirl.
Yeah, how'd they get that wrong? These are the most adorable little bags, by the way. I appreciate these.
You're welcome.
They don't smell hot.
I've already had these, but
that's more dense than a normal tortilla chip, and I like it.
It's tightly rolled. It's like a tightly rolled, take a regular tortilla chip and tightly coil it.
I don't even mean because it's rolled up. Like, you can just tell the chip itself is thicker.
Mm-hmm. It's more of like a Frito density.
Mm-hmm. The U.S. is like trying to, in this perpetual craze to make tortilla chips thinner and thinner. And, you know, this is a nice contrast. Yeah, for Frito-Lay chips, it's a thicker.
These are better than I remember them being. It's been a long time since not a long time, like a couple of years since I tried these. But I have since tried Takis flavored things. So like you go to the gas station and you go to like the meat stick section, right? And there's some company that'll have like a Taki flavored meat stick, or maybe even the company actually makes the meat sticks. I'm not even sure. But I've had some Takis flavored items before that I never like. And the reason is because for me, they violate like my flavor personality of not liking lime flavored anything really. So like when it was all the rave to buy like the hint of lime tortilla chips, I was like, I hated parties.
Everybody had those for a while.
Everybody had them for a while. And I'm like, guys, you can't, because like it turned me off. I did not eat them. And I mean, and that's saying a lot. But these are much less limey than I remember them being. I appreciate this experience.
So
yeah,
I'm not a big spicy food person, so I can, a little bit is fine. I don't ever get hot wings or anything like that. I know you guys would love to do a hot wing segment for exactly that reason.
Yes, sir.
But I would say for anyone that's not into spicy, this is manageable. It stays sort of at the front of your mouth. So if you've got a cold soda that you're like eating these and drinking the soda, you're going to be fine, even if you're not like a super spicy person. I'm not like sweating. Typically, like I eat wets. I'm not like sweating or whatever. This is good. I would totally buy these. These are delicious.
Yeah, the heat goes away after a second. It hits you at first and you're like, "Oh no." And then it kind of goes away rather quickly. But I don't know that it's something I'd sit down and like enjoy a big bag of necessarily. Do you guys like the hot Cheetos? What are those called?
Flamin' hot.
Flamin' hot. You guys like those?
I'm okay with them.
They're like that. It's like the same color red.
Yeah.
Like that fake artificial red.
Yeah,
And then
just
the
red.
other things I brought were just bonus because I just really wanted you to have the Takis or the Takis. And that's two different kinds of hot nuts. The first of which is what you just had, the Fuego in the purple packaging with a hint of lime. And then the original brand of hot nuts.
What kind of nut is that?
I have to get my translator out.
That's really nice.
Cacahuates. I think it's just peanuts.
Doesn't taste like a standard peanut.
Caca means something different.
I think
Mhm.
it's a peanut.
You think it's a peanut?
Uh-huh.
They seem less.
But it's not just a peanut with like dusting on it. It's a peanut with like a coating and then dusting.
And then the dusting, yeah.
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 I think that coating is throwing you off. There's like a shell around the peanut, and then it's flavored on the outside of that shell.
Yeah, like the
Boston
package.
baked beans,
like
but
the-
crispy.
Like the package shows.
Oh,
See?
like the package shows.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's got a little shell around it. Are they hotter because there's more surface area of the hot dusting?
Maybe.
I
haven't
think the
had
regular Takis are hotter. Anyway, I liked these, Corey, and I didn't think I was going to.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you.
I think the regular nuts might be hotter than the hot nuts.
Well,
Right. That's all I
it's going
got.
to be crisp. Oh, yeah.
I'm
Goodness
intrigued.
gracious.
These are great.
Oh man, it is legitimately hard to talk a lot when you've just eaten,
Yeah.
especially sugary things. So, yeah. So you know what I need to do is
Nuts on the floor.
uh-oh. The floor is lava. Ouch.
What do you need to do?
Hot nuts. Anyway. I have almost gone through my shampoo and conditioner, which means that I need to go to one place to order some shampoo and conditioner. And that is artiusman.com. ARTIUSman.com. And their tried and true sort of original product is beard oil and beard products, and they ought to be, if they're not yet, an industry leader in that stuff, because not only the scent, we talk a lot about the smells and how amazing they are, because they're not using cheap fragrances, they're using the legit oils to put those smells together, and they're better than anything else you're going to find. They're products that legitimately work. My beard is soft and supple, and the skin underneath isn't all dry and itchy and weird, and that is awesome. But I have also adopted to using their bar soap and their shampoo and conditioner in their shower, and I'm a guy with sensitive skin, and that stuff is working for me. So they also have candles and some swag and other things. And you should go there and put the middle when you're checking out into the discount box there, the promo box, whatever it's called, and you're going to get 25% off of your first order. Buy a lot of stuff. Once again, that's artiusman.com, ARTS.com, and
ARTS.com. Sorry. That was good. TS, like you spell all the time.
yeah, ARTES or ARTS.
Sorry.
.com.
That just really struck me. Okay, sorry. All the hot nuts.
Oh boy.
And I think the hot nuts are a lot hotter than the Takis.
Here it is again, in case that wasn't clear.
Just go to artiusman.com.
ARTIUS man.
Yes, man.
Anyway, that was supposed to be a stupid little flyby joke, and
I know, man. It just got my funny bone.
Man, we're tired. All right, it's late.
It is late.
Anything else, fellas?
That's it. It's been fun hanging out. I hope you enjoyed our advice and our taste tests, and just like hanging out. We do have plans for guests in the future and other discussions, but we just, we give you what we got week to week, and hope it was fun for you. So call to action this week: tell a friend, tell 5 friends, and please like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Rate and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. We would really appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. Have a great week. Be kind to each other. And yeah, that's all I got. Go taste something fun.
Yep.
Taste the rainbow of love. Bye. For the love. Put us out of our. Okay.